Um, Thank you, Ambassador, for agree to sit down with us today and joining us in this we call it interview, but I just simply think it's an informal talk about one of a topic that lately we really want to get more insight and of course the buy-in from you know uh, you in regarding to the quality of the manpower in Vietnam and how the picture of manpower quality would really put in the picture of economy and development and social development. It sounds like a little bit of abstract to talk about to what extent the workforce need to be and how it need to be in the whole picture. That's why we would just want this talk to be more about what your view in terms of labor workforce and manpower in Vietnam and why we need to look at the quality at this point where the requirement of international community for Vietnam in both sense of social and economic development. So maybe I want to start with the first question that we normally get a lot when we have new friend coming to Vietnam, new company. I'm pretty sure that a Swedish company coming to Vietnam soon after COVID, and mainly we get the question that what the Vietnamese normally doing, how are they working, what their working style, and because of the data out there is ways to too much and too expensive to get the exact answer. We normally say, please look at the traffic jam or the traffic, the way people attending and joining the traffic, especially in rush hour. Maybe that's explaining what Vietnamese working.
Okay.
What do you think about that? It's been over about 3 years in Vietnam. Do you think you agree with that, or you have you want to share some of your view on that?
Thank you very much for having me. First, I know the work that you're doing, which is, I think, very important in Vietnam. And as a Swedish embassy, we work a lot, of course, with our companies, and a lot of them are stepping up now after COVID, and we have a lot of new Swedish companies coming into the country. And of course, we get a lot of questions about Vietnam from the new companies. What are the opportunities? What are some of the challenges when establishing themselves in Vietnam? And of course, we also have systems to respond to those questions in an organized way. It's often Business Sweden who's taking care of these requests. But I think in general we will say that this is a very good market for a company to come into, and then of course they need to understand Vietnam. They need to understand the labor market when they are active here. As for your metaphor, as I'm cycling to work quite often, and I think at first sight when you come here 3 years ago. When I came here, you think that the traffic is really chaotic. You don't understand it because it doesn't follow rules and regulations.
Yes, I think so.
But once you get on the bike and you start cycling and you adapt to the flow and you find your way, it actually, there is a logic to it. It works. So I don't know if that helps you with your metaphor, but I see somehow things are working, but not according to the rules and regulations that you would expect.
So if and I must say it's very useful, and it exactly is one thing that I really want to listen to, because if you keep looking in the chaos on the street, of course the first feeling would be, oh, it's so scared. I'm so scared. I don't want to join that particular road. But then Vietnam is been known for the young workforce. Of course, it's getting aging like every other country, but it's still young, hardworking, and we're very creative. But going back to the metaphor, like you said, when you're cycling and you start to realize that there's a logic going through that direction, and why people have to comply with or they go with the flow, or they sometimes they have to comply with the traffic light system. Maybe if you can bring in some other metaphor to say that what is the logic to really joy and make the workforce go into the direction that what is the good logic for that as the person, individual person who come enjoy the traffic and start to be part of the labor market itself.
I don't know how far we get with this metaphor from me understanding the traffic in Vietnam, but I would say as a manager myself that I mean, what you need to look at in any workforce is one, that you have a common vision, that you can ensure that all of your co-workers know what is the goal of what we're doing and which direction are we going, and then follows what do you need, how we have the what, how do we do that, and then of course you need the evidence, you need to know what is needed to go in that direction, and you need the right skills. So I would find that you always have to look at to start with evidence if you want to achieve something, if you want to go in a certain direction, and then you have to ask yourself on any level, from management and throughout the organization, do we have the right skills, do we have the right knowledge? And being in the foreign service for 23 years now, I know that in a fast changing and challenging international environment, lifelong learning is crucial. I mean, you cannot just attend a university course or some other training and believe that now I know everything. You have to constantly learn, and I think that goes for anybody in the organization again, and that really what is needed is not only to identify this need by the management and by the workers themselves, but also allow for time and resources to make this happen, because I think in most busy organizations, be it in the public or in the private sector, what is often lacking is to have enough time for skills development, training, and so on.
So that's important for you to say that when one actually attend the workforce and joining a company or an organization, and even the government agency, for example, the first thing that you're supposed to open your mind and actually curious about learning about new places you're coming to. You have an attitude of learning about where you are, your co-workers, how the organization work, right? And then we can talk about the culture of that itself. And then you will see how you have to adjust yourself and then be part of it. But I really like the way you talking about time and resources for the leader themselves to give it to that particular person to make sure that they can enjoy the new environment with the of course the confidence and then knowing that they come into the right place. But you just mentioned that is not always the case where that organization would love to give time and resources, where we all want to do lifelong learning. So if you giving it a simple picture of how to really start from there, how we can tell the leaders spend time and resources for that long life learning.
Well, I think any leader should realize that you may achieve a lot in a short term with the capacity, with the skills that you have, because you know that your staff, your workers can probably achieve this, and most people are working with a quite short-sighted perspective, that they want things to be produced or to be achieved with a short sight in a short while. But if you have a long-term vision, and your long-term vision it's a bit more ambitious than your short-term visions, then you also have to realize that the more your staff is, in my case, when it comes to policy advocacy, for example, the more people know about the context where they are working, the more they know about new evidence in the area, the better you will achieve for your long-term vision. And to do that, really you have to allow people to attend the course, to read articles, to spend time, improving their knowledge and deepening their knowledge.
Sorry.
That's fine.
Cắt đoạn đấy được không em? Lại nhé. Sorry. It should be funny was said and put it on the camera.
Yeah.
I tried to make it the flash of Swedish.
Ah, okay.
Swedish flash. Is that correct?
I don't see the other one.
No, this one and the green.
Not so much.
Doesn't work that well. Đấy, để đang cười vui này thì không quay đi. Lại nhá.
Hai, một, bắt đầu.
So I might need to repeat the question about how the leader, like you say, that need to be aware and then truly think about vision in long term vision of why long life learning workforce will get to anywhere they want to go in the future. And then you just mentioned that there should be a way for those leaders to actually realize and actually implement to make it happen. Could you just emphasize it a little bit?
Yeah, well, I mean, what I mean is that as a manager, if you want to have a lot of result with a short time perspective, you might opt for not investing so much in learning, because of course your workers will achieve more if they are just working, if they are just writing those memos or producing whatever they are producing. But if you have a long-term vision with some policy goal or something else that you really want to achieve, and with a very fast-changing environment and a lot of new evidence, you must allow time for your staff to attend that course, to read that article, to interact with peers, maybe in other organizations, to learn from experience and so on. And in the long term, that investment will make you reach your goals in a more effective way, and maybe you will not reach that long-term goal if you don't allow for your staff to develop, to start to learn.
So it's definitely right that we're looking in a long-term vision, and that of course that leader and that manager, of course, to have the really long-term view about what's going to be in more sustainable way. And I totally agree with what you put in there, because we seeing that many company and Vietnamese company learning from company from other country coming to Vietnam, and we're learning from ourselves as well. But I'm interested in, we see so many cases we see that if the learning and development, the learning itself is not starting from day one when a new employee come on board. To be honest, even short-term goal cannot be able to achieve. That we're seeing, because it go back to the story of productivity, efficiency, and communication of the goal that that team or that organization want to go to. So in this case, maybe learning even needed it for short term as well. Especially for startup and company that go into a new direction when they have to change and restructure during COVID, for example. Do you agree?
I agree, and I think that as a manager, I would be, of course, when you recruit staff, you're looking at their CV and see if you look at if they have the adequate background, adequate education and training for the job, and you will employ the person who has the best fit for the description of the post. But at the same time, I would always look at the attitude of this person, if it's
Yes.
somebody who is curious,
Yes.
if it's somebody who seems capable of learning,
Yeah.
if it's somebody who realize
Yes.
that you have to have a lifelong learning throughout your career, throughout your life, because that's how you improve and how you can contribute to the common vision, the common goal of your enterprise or organization.
That's then, which means we agree that short term and long term we all need it.
Yes.
So that's why I want to move our conversation to one of the comics, and that we know that you support the idea of having comic into training and development in many aspects. So we talk about if we increase the mindset and the knowledge of that particular employee in the whole workforce, the more they learn, the more the better the better progress they will be made for themselves and for the organization they're working.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of the situation here where many companies, they realize that the more they're giving and investing in learning and development, the progress curve, the learning curve gonna go up. So the boss of course happy and say, yes, invested in learning and development, short term and long term. But sometimes in some organization, they cannot measure the progress. And they is go in this direction and they feel like, no, I don't see the progress itself. And some other case, like you said, they study too much, they take too much time, they don't work, they don't give time for working, then I see that the progress going down. So in this particular case, and I think that's happening in many companies in Vietnam and organization, and even some non-profit organization we're seeing. What do you see that, do we need, is that the case that we have to have some new approach with learning and development, or what is the advice we would give to the leader who not yet seeing the importance of learning and development when they are trying to invest in it?
Well, I think really that each leader has to realize that they need learning within their own organization, not only to achieve the goals of the organization, but also to retain the staff, because it's also good for anyone to continue developing during your life and to learn new things, and that will give you stimulation, that will give you energy, and you will be more content and happy with your work, because you know that what I've learned, with what I learned, I can contribute better, and I can contribute to the mission, the vision of my company or my organization. So I think, to begin with, I think everybody should realize that this is a good investment, both from a human resources, retention of staff point of view, but also to really realize the goals that you want to realize.
Meaning that we have to align the view over learning and development from the leader and the workforce themselves. And so just to have them really, meet up with each other, the expectations, or they should be on the same page about learning and development.
Yeah, I think, let's take football as an example. You want to score 3 goals at the end of the match.
Yes.
This is your goal. And the team leader can tell you that we need to score 3 goals.
Yes.
But you can only tell your staff and your colleagues so much that this is the goal.
That's a good metaphor.
You have to discuss who is doing what, who is best at scoring goal, who is best at defending on the other side. And I don't know much about sport anyway, but I know that to score in a team, you have to use the full potential of the team.
Yes.
You have to plan. You have to have an idea how to achieve it. And I think it's the same thing. A manager who keeps the vision to him or herself will be very lonely with trying to move the company or the organization in that direction. You need to have the buy-in. You need to not only say that this is the vision, but to discuss how do you feel about this vision. do you think it's realistic that we
Yeah.
will achieve it in 2023?
Yes.
Or shall we aim for 2024?
Yes.
What kind of
That's
what do
a
we
really
need
good one.
to achieve
Yes.
this goal? Is it more training? Do we need maybe more staff? Do we need some kind
Yes.
of other skills brought into the team to maybe we don't have the right players to score those 3
Yeah.
goals? Maybe we need to have another player on board
Exactly.
or something.
Good
So that's-
replacement.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think it's perfect metaphor here. I mean, everybody now looking at the sport as a perfect example to talk about teamwork and how the organization should go to the same direction and then go to the goal.
Yeah.
But that particular point, I think, is come to what truly the ideas why we have this interview today is when the boss or the leader do not understand the coach, do not understand the 16 player
Yeah.
in the team,
Yeah.
and then let them do whatever they want. Of course, they would never have to go. They would. So basically, for learning and development, the boss, the leader, need to go together with the whole team.
Yes.
We mean learning together, because only by learning together you will see that who need help, who's not, and how to make the whole team come to the same direction.
Yeah.
And then I see is what you, and I think it's perfect metaphor. And that is the reason why we would like to share with you. I think you maybe already know is the term called learning organization, where many people might be mistakenly thinking that is how to spend the money. Right? The boss spend the money and invest in it and giving all the staff going to some training and then study together. But in fact, the leader themselves have to really see the goal of the learning process themselves. So they have to learn together with the team, and then make sure that the learning organization will take the organization to the goal that they want to be.
Yes.
And there is a very famous saying from I have to get his name, Andre. His famous saying, especially during a crisis like COVID. They saying that an organization's unique or the most sustainable competitive edge is actually the learning capacity of the whole organization compared to the competitor. Which means that again, the learning skill and the learning capacity of the whole organization is really important. That make the team go really get into, we call it resilient.
Yeah.
During COVID, and we're seeing some of the case happening in Vietnam and some other country as well, which means the whole thing learning new knowledge really quick and get to the direction together.
Yeah.
So with that, I would like to move a little bit to some topic that I know that is one of your really not just interest but part of your work as well, is when in a free trade agreement, especially between Vietnam and Europe and in some other free trade agreement as well, who's uphold international standard in ESG, environment, social and governance, and especially with social responsibility for company. It's been a decade we're discussing that company, besides their profit making, financial bottom line, they have to have social responsibility, and they have to make sure that they take care of their own employee. At the same time, they take care of any other social responsibility. But let's stay with the employee.
Yeah.
In this case, we have so many work we've been doing with company have to treat the people right, and that is their social responsibility. So let's restart with the question about the social responsibility of company. This case more about business themselves, and they already have of course business have to make money, they have to make profit, but at the same time the society and community require them to be good in social responsibility. One of them is doing good with their employees. So connecting the picture of learning organization that anyone want to achieve to get to the goal that they wanted, together with social responsibility that they should do, particularly to show respect and their care for their worker. Do you think there's any connection between those two? And,
of course.
and maybe we would come with some sort of common formula to make it easier for business to do the job.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as a government representative, I would expect, or the Swedish government would expect companies in Sweden to follow ESG, simply because it's according to the rules and regulation. You cannot discriminate against workers because they are women, or because they have another sexual orientation, or because they are immigrants, or they have a functional impairment, or so. So it is the law, but I think from a company perspective that diversity really strengthens any workplace, to have different perspective, to have different experiences, different ages, different kind of backgrounds will make it a more dynamic, a more creative workplace, no matter what the task is for the company or for the organization. And in order to have that working smoothly with people from different backgrounds, different experiences, you cannot have one norm that this is what a worker or a co-worker in this organization need to be like. You have to be open for everybody to fulfill the full potential on their terms. And that's where the learning come in, because we are all different and we all need to learn different new things, different skills. And the employer also have to take a responsibility to create space for each worker to reach their potential. So it can be about training for sure, but it can also be about an enabling environment. I mean, if you are in a wheelchair, you need some concrete support to get into the workplace. If you are a full-time working parent, father or a mother, you might need to adapt your working hours somehow. You have to be more flexible, have more flexible working hour, and so on. So I do agree it's about learning and training, but it's also about creating an enabling environment for everybody to contribute to their full potential to the company.
Yeah, I totally agree with you that it's a huge connection between and you make the point very clear that it's a new way of looking at the relationship between the business and the people who are working for the business, and then they have to learn from each other better. But we have some discussion about that with some company that already have a starting point of understand that basic principle. It seems not a problem, but then the majority of company business is still difficult for them to understand, number one, why they have to do so, and the most important is how to do it. So when we're talking about it, how to do it is one of the work we've been doing. You try to explain to them the concept of learning organization, and like you said, if we make sure that the team keeping doing learning and the leader also learn together along, then they would come up with the same page about how to actually make it happen. But it seems not that easy still. And we're talking about some new term right now, and some of the initiative was there where we're talking about start thinking about standard and regulation and requirement of the social responsibility or governance in a simple term. Another word, we call it the language that the layman would understand. for example, if the requirement for workplace safety or anti-sexual harassment and violence at workplace is not easy to look at 100 pages of all full of text.
No.
But in fact, if the company would really make it become a simple document that not only the worker but the manager needed some time because they cannot remember all the work. Do you think is that one of the direction? It's easier to get to the how in a better way?
I mean, I think I come from a quite simple background, and I think it's all about dialogue and talking to each other.
Yeah.
Of course, you have to have some kind of regulations and directives, be them state laws, state regulation, or company regulations. And I think most companies have some kind of code of conduct already that they have worked out through experience of what works, what doesn't work. Or you know, having global code of conduct for a big company, setting some standards that are like your expected minimum standard. But in the end of the day, we are all humans, and we need to talk to each other.
Yes.
You can't just come with like a regulation and say this is the law. Yes, let's just follow it. If I recruit you to my workplace, what I need to tell you as a manager is this is what we're to achieve. This is where I want us to go, and this is what I expect you to do. This is where you fit in with your background and education. Do you think we can do it, and how do you think we can do it? And then you will say, well, I need space, I need work-life balance. I need to take this course because I'm not very good in online conferences, for example, and I need and if you have a problem already, that you address it to the manager. If you see that this is something that is going to be a hindrance for me to contribute to the goal of this organization. So I think in many places. The challenge might be that it's too hierarchical, that is just the one-way top-down communication.
Yes.
If you have a communication both ways and you try and you discuss what do you consider to be sexual harassment, and how do we need to be clear about that this is not acceptable for me as a woman in this workplace, for example. I mean, that's how you will know, that's how you will solve it. It's not by looking at this paragraph in this paper.
I totally agree with you. Dialogue is so important, and communication is really important, not just nowadays, but it's throughout any relationship. And we talk about relationship here. But I still want to make one more question over that picture, because it seems to be easy if you have a small team and you have an environment is already enabling of the dialogue and communication. But in many other cases, we have company with 100 people, 1,000 people, and going back to the story of how business would be managed. You know, managing a relationship with two person already difficult, but in managing with the relationship with so many people, and always we're talking about system, we're talking about tool, we're talking about particular, you know, devices or some ingredient to make the dialogue or communication actually happen. Then in this case, so many people already share with us that communication or dialogue itself might not be able to have a comprehensive picture. You have to have survey, you have to have, you know, regular dialogue, and in many ways you might not be able to get to the most important, because we're going back to the question of we doing many things, but sometimes forgot the most important. And then it's similar to the way we go on the road. Sometimes it's important to be attending the traffic. Is number one as a rule is to respect the traffic light, for example, and the police. So if the workplace have some fundamental rule and regulation to make sure people handling that relationship in the the first
Yeah.
layer of respect,
Yeah.
then we can talk about other things.
Of course. Yes.
I don't know whether you agree with that,
Yeah.
but when we see in some of the company really believe in that, and they call it discipline. There's a book named From Good to Great,
Yeah.
and they said how discipline would be able to manage the environment of a big company like that.
Yeah.
Of course, we don't want them to go the direction of too much discipline, too much punishment.
Yeah.
But going back to the dialogue and communication,
Yeah.
you know, what do you think about that perspective? And there is, should we would come up with something, or we let, you know, we how we actually guide company and employer go into direction that dialogue and communication would be the way to get to the healthier relationship.
Yeah. Well, I don't think, maybe to take a step back, I mean, you don't start only to have an open dialogue. You have those documents in place. I mean, you have a vision for your organization. You have an activity plan. This is what we want to achieve in this year.
Yeah.
You have a code of you have a division of labor.
Yes.
The structure, who is doing what, who is commanding who, and in what order, and so on. And then you have a code of conduct. How shall we behave vis-a-vis each other to allow everybody to reach their full potential, not to limit anybody in their work, and so on. And then you have a competence plan. How do you develop the competence of the staff?
Yes.
And that is can also be both short term and long term. Maybe you need to go a course tomorrow on how to conduct a digital meeting, but then there are other deeper things that you need a year to take a 10% time university course to understand the economic landscape better, or something like that. So I think all those structures interact.
Yes.
But in the end of the day, to make it work, you have to talk to each other, and you have to have the dialogue. Are we going in the right direction for our vision? Do we need to change our activity plan because of COVID, because it has changed everything, so we cannot work as we plan to work? Actually this course is not available, can we do something else? And the code of conduct, I mean, some people are misbehaving, and then we have to talk about it and see how we can solve it. So it starts with the vision and the structures, but then the everyday work for a manager is to communicate about it, to see that it actually works in practice.
I can see it, the simplicity that you mentioned about Swedish people and the mindset, and how we would like to see things in a simple way, so that when it comes from there, it's gonna be, you know, everything could be able to solve. And I really like it. And maybe we are talking the same thing about the what we put in it, like a lean language. We try to simplify things and make the thought process go into direction, and everybody should go to. I mean, find in a common way. But that actually get me to another question that we discussed earlier about, is it any way that, based on what we has been saying, to be honest, is just some talk would we go to solve everything? Because I know that you have a Swedish workplace program, we have a Swedish company, and we have many effort to try to help different organization to do better, and that's why we still have a lot more work to go. I just want to go back a little bit and have the next question. Maybe we have to stop here a little bit to make that question is in a separate go, but I want you to maybe share a little bit about the Swedish working style, that maybe this you would giving just some sort of a lesson or some sort of experience to share with, and we can learn from.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go a little more with the question that we mentioned about. We are doing a lot. We're trying to work on different solutions to help organization doing better for their own good, but at the same time for their own worker. I just want you to share a little bit about the Swedish working style or the mindset that said that the Swedish people come to the point that you also have a happy at work and you be happy in life, and some of the terms that we so love about and would like to learn more about, like LAGOM, and anything you would like to share with us about Swedish people.
No, I think if I start with the workplace, I think a typical feature is that most of us feel responsibility, that we want to contribute to the goal of the workplace. And with that follows, of course, that you want to see how you can chip in to reach the goals. And when you do that, then you also question, do I need to learn something more? Do I need to develop some way? Do I need to work in another way? So it kind of follows that you want to have this dialogue in the workplace to reach, to contribute to reach the goal. I think also, so dialogue is key. And then diversity and inclusion, I think, is key, because we have realized a long time ago that if you have different experiences, different backgrounds, you will have a more creative, more innovative workplace. And then I think there's also a clear realization that to achieve your best, you have to have a work-life balance. Work is not everything, and to be good at coming up with new creative ideas at work, you have to be content with your life. And if you don't have the time to be with your children, if you don't have the time to take a time out and relax, different people need different things. Some people need to go to the gym, some people need to sing in a choir or play the guitar. Some people need to go out and walk in the nature to clear their mind, to get new ideas. So we all have different needs, but we all need not to work all the time, because we are not made to work all the time. No. So I think LAGOM is a very wide concept, but it means balance. It means to not go to any extreme. And when it comes to work life, I think one interpretation can be to have a good work life balance, that you will feel more content, you will contribute more and be more active at work. If there's a balance with the rest of your life, be it family, be it other activities that you need to do to feel like a whole human being, a content human being.
That's wonderful. I mean, it just explained the idea of a LAGOM is really explain why you're in top 5, the happiest country in the world that we keep talking about. But that is not easy, right? Because for the country with the generation will already have that mindset by how to balance your work and life. I mean, it's an amazing message to the people in Vietnam. Even if you are the leader or the boss, it's important to see you have a balanced work-life balance, and you have a better efficiency, better productive workforce. Instead of try to squeeze them in 1 or 2 days, and then the next 5 days they couldn't be able to do anything much.
No.
So and then you also talk about the first sentence, the first keyword before diversity and inclusion. You talk about responsible. Responsible meaning, if correct me if I'm wrong, is that when you already be at the labor and the worker and the employee, someone start to participate into the labor market. You are tied with your job, and you have to the responsibility with the job that you're taking.
Yes.
Right? And is that the I want to go back to that point a little bit. That's really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I think what it makes with individuals when you take responsibility is that it empowers you. You feel like when this car is produced, or when this policy results on gender equality, when we have reached it, you have been part of it and you're proud of it.
Yes.
I think also it's easier if you have a flatter organization with a good dialogue. To feel that you can take this responsibility, because then you are expected to think about how we reach that goal. If you have a very hierarchical situation, you might, as a staff, wait till you get an order,
Right.
and then you just follow that order.
Yes.
And then you don't take responsibility if that order contributes to the.
Yes.
So maybe in the short run, if the manager is almighty and understand exactly how to achieve things him or herself, you might achieve some goals. But really, if you want to achieve better, if you want to reach long-term visions, I think you are better served by having staff that feel that they are part of the project, part of the workplace. They feel proud to be there. Then they will probably stay longer. Then you will have a more of an experience, a collective experience in your workplace to build on, and that is also good for the organization.
Yes. I totally agree, and this is what we learn so much. We're starting with something simple. We have to think simple first in order to see that what is the most important competence that one person need to have in order to join any business, any workplaces, right? So that would be basically already get to exactly where we want in this interview. Because we can learn about your opinion about the workforce in Vietnam, the how the labor market needs, but also we learn about Sweden. In order to conclude, we would like to have your little bit buy-in over this picture. This comic is one of our products to come to the simple, basic of what people can elaborate what people think, and complicated thought become simple. So you might want to share with us what you think about this picture, and maybe we can start talking more about in a workplace, a particular group that needs support and need to be invested in learning and development, like we discussed.
Well, I mean, this is of course seems like a leisure activity, watching roaster fight, but what I see here is not optimal. This guy can't see anything. He's not happy about the situation. And what you see in this picture is that somebody has enabled all three individuals, the little guy, the woman, and the man to follow it. They will have the same chances, same impression. And what you have done is really to create an enabling environment for each one to be included and to participate.
So with that, in the end of the day, it's not about how the support need to be out there. It's more about whether the support will achieve the goal that everybody would be able to get the equal support. But at the same time, if the workplace level, if the three of them had an opportunity to do same thing, they would be able to work as a team. And that's how it will make the healthy workplace environment.
I think the beauty of this picture is that this is not optimal. This is optimal for all three of them. So nobody is losing out in this one. So I think these three individuals, if they talk to each other, they could find this solution themselves without me telling them or you telling them that you have to do this.
Yes. So dialogue really put in that makes sure, and I like this idea, and it's also common with what we kept from what you say. Let the dialogue start, and then let the people in the dialogue take the responsibility and take their own space to create the solution for themselves and what they want to go together. That's really amazing. That's really good idea. So maybe this picture and for your explanation would lead us to be more about confident about our next program is that we call it Fellowship 100. We would like to give a coaching fellowship for about 100 female professional leader, because we see that for women in particularly in Vietnam, is more like the little guy who even you giving support, but he still cannot see the cockfighting. And we would love to give a little more support for women in that perspective, in order for them to see how they can learn themselves, give them dialogue and especially tool and knowledge for them to be more, get empowered, but maybe gain the ownership at the work by joining and developing the learning organization. What do you think about that initiative, and should it be one of the initiative we could go forward?
I think it sounds like an excellent initiative, and I really see so many talented, smart, ambitious women in this country, both young but also on mid management level. And I often ask myself why these talented, hard-working women on mid-management level are not top management, because they seem to be the ones doing most of the work anyway. And I think you can reach far with working with these women, and they're enabling them, empowering them. And then in the end of the day, they will also need supportive organizations and managers in their organizations. And you also need more support structures in society.
Yes.
Because what I see is that women carry a very heavy burden working, but also carry a very heavy burden in the household and at home. So if there is not affordable childcare or partners or others who help out more at home, there are some structural challenges that have to be dealt with as well for those women to take the next step.
Yes, I mean, in order to solve all the problems you mentioned, we need so much more. We need the government support. We need the Swedish government and continuous supporting us about law reform and many others capacity building program. But going back to this small and humble program, what we just thinking exactly you mentioned, why middle level management, especially female, they struggle in order to not only go into the leadership level, but also find their own in the feel belong to the place they should be, given all the challenges they're facing. What I'm seeing, and I was one of them before, what I was seeing is mainly because we didn't have enough chance and opportunity to learn about, number one, what we want, and to learn about, number two, what the people around us want, and how the system in the organization is supposed to be in place. We normally work as people told. Like you mentioned, it's a job that people take part in. But when you feel like belonging, you feel like you have an ownership, you start to think more, not only some tasks and some job you've been given, but more about where the goal you're going. That's your personal goal align with your organization goal. So that is the idea and the objective of the program, and we hope that we would get your and your embassy and government support. We would like to have some of the Swedish company join us in this regard, and that would be amazing if we have some of the Swedish knowledge and working style coming in the program, and then maybe we can change and make a better life for some female professional. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
This has been quite a lot of questions being given, but basically you are already giving us the overall and the detail of what we should go next. And whoever watching this video clip, I think that they would be able to giving some inspiration and maybe some idea. If you're closely working in so many and this video clip will make it a little bit more like a sharing, inside sharing in material and maybe training material. We will cut this you know, in a different section, and we, you know, give to the female leader, female practitioner to listen to and then inspire themselves, and maybe they would have their own idea of what they need to do in their career and life, work-life balance.
I'm sure they will.
They are doing so, but hopefully they are doing better.
Yes, so, good luck. I really think that you're doing an excellent job in this regard and trying to simplify it and explain it in a good way. So let's keep the conversation going.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So that will be ending of this video clip, and would like to say thank you to Ambassador Anne. Thank you for your time. This is amazing opportunity. We didn't know that we can go to this far in the topic, but also very detailed. And the amazing part is, of course, we cannot answer all the questions, but we already did. For some of the question, and we learn about even your perspective, and we also learn about what the Swedish people think at work, and that I think is really important. At the same time, we would be able to have your support in what we're doing for a learning organization, and particularly our small project for coaching fellowship for 100 female professionals, and of course your support. So thank you so much, and I really hope that would get the conversation keep going like you're saying, and get more of your buy-in in the future work.
Thank you so much for having me on your show. It's always inspiring to have this kind of conversation, and I think you are doing an impressive job.
Thank you.
And I looking forward to our continued conversation on these important topics, I think both in Sweden and in Vietnam.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And it's like we are waving to the audience of this video clip. And thank you.